Good job.
All right, I think we are live.
Yes.
That was very exciting.
Well done.
I didn't know I was allowed to do it.
You did it.
Now Steve sounds loud compared to Allison. We can turn him down a little bit. We can't turn him up much. Hey, Alan, how you doing? All right, so far in roll call, we have Jill and Rose and Rick and Sandy and Steve and Michael. And let's see who's in the sidebar here. Jill. And let's see, Rose is here. Mike Price is here. Mr. Grumpy himself. I do not see Wheels.
No, Frank's not
Wait,
here.
and Alan, I thought Alan was here, but now I don't see where he is.
He said hi.
Alan? Oh, he's offline.
Huh.
Yeah, and he's offline now.
All right. He was on.
And John, did I say John? No Frank, no Kevin. Yeah, Kevin said he'd be here, but that he might have to duck out because he had some work excuse.
He said he might be a couple minutes late to
Meet
the
him
chat.
in Virginia. Oh, no, he said he would be here, but then he might have to leave.
About a minute ago, though, he said work canceled tonight, which is good, but might be a couple minutes late.
So did you notice Hindenburg just gone?
Oh. Uh-oh.
It just quit.
Looks like it crashed.
It sure did. You see it now?
Yes, I do.
All right, good.
Hopefully that's the last time
Good.
it crashes tonight.
I hope so. So I had the new interface last week, didn't I?
Yes, I think you did.
Did I have the new interface?
Yeah. And we did have problems with being low volume last week.
Yeah. Now, I'm not quite sure.
But we adjusted something.
Yeah, so I've got the volume up full blast. Yeah, actually, it isn't looking that hot. Let me do a quick test recording in Hindenburg. Hi, this is Allison Sheridan of the NosillaCast podcast, hosted at podfeet.com. Looks a little low, but it boosts it up. Hi, this is Allison Sheridan of the NosillaCast podcast, hosted at podfeet.com. Uh-oh, I did the wrong thing in Oculus, now trying to not feel woozy. Uh-oh.
Hang in there, Jill.
Specific time of day here. Oh, I'm not going to talk about this much on the show, but watch this. Podfeet.com/time shifter clock. My clock is out. It is published for real. This is my 2-month-long homework assignment for Programming by Stealth.
Wow. Look at
I'll
that
be talking
baby
a little
go.
bit about it.
Look at me. I'm just dragging the slider back and forth to any arbitrary hour I want.
Changing time zones?
Changing time zones.
Did I show you guys a picture of my my new interface? I can't show it to you in real life, I don't think,
Hold it up
because
again.
it's actually I could.
Hold it up again, full frame.
Well, I'm going to do better than that. I'm going to do this and show it to you right there. There it is. Isn't it pretty? Look at all the pretty dials. But look at how high the volume. That's the input gain. I can go up a little bit more, but I hesitate to do that. I mean, see the little orange light on the left going off when I'm talking? I don't want to get that into the red. Oh, that's the red. That's that's just a lightning cable on my iPad. This is my control center for Mimo Call.
That lightning cable
It's a
is running
surface?
so hot, it's turning red.
Anyway, isn't it pretty? You're going to hear all about it in this show. So I don't really want to go any hotter than it's showing. I could go. I'll give you one more. Give you one more little notch. There. You can have that much more. That's it.
Boy, just
Fancy.
doling out the volume.
Oh, what does that replace? That replaces this, the Shure Mvi. So I'm actually going to describe everything about it, so we'll talk about it then. But there's the back of the Shure Mvi. But I'm going to explain all that in my second segment. First segment? All right, it's probably time to get started.
Yes.
Are you ready, Steve? I'm going to mute you.
I'm ready. You
It
just
didn't work.
put me full frame.
Oh, sorry. Hang on. Let me fix that. Okay. Now I muted him. All right. All right. Oh, sure. I get one of those. Uh-oh. Okay, here we go. Hi, this is Allison Sheridan of the NosillaCast podcast, hosted at podfeet.com, a technology geek podcast with an ever so slight Apple bias. Today is Friday, August 28th, 2020, and this is show number 799. Well, speaking of big numbers, this week's episode of Chit Chat Across the Pond was the positively delightful podcast episode as Bart and I celebrated 100 episodes of Programming by Stealth. When we hit 99 installments, Bart declared that for 100, there should be cake. So, secretly behind his back, I got his darling beloved to deliver him a piece of cake right as we started recording, and Steve delivered one to me. To say that Bart was surprised and delighted would be an understatement. It was super fun to surprise him with. He's like, "How did you get me cake during a pandemic?" Especially since his darling beloved is not allowed to leave the house because he has medical conditions that would make it dangerous for him. So we were able to do it between him and I, and it was a lot of fun to surprise Bart. So the actual episode 100, was an opportunity for Bart and me to share our respective solutions to the challenge from Programming by Stealth 96. That was to create a web app that would allow a podcaster to send a time of their choosing to another podcaster and reveal the time in the other podcaster's time zone. Now, he didn't put a lot of restrictions around what this web app should be like, so our solutions turned out to be completely different. And we were both going to describe our solutions, and I begged to go first because I said, going after you is like being the comedian who had to go on after Robin Williams. Well, it was funny. He replied that he wanted to go first for the same reason, which really surprised me because his stuff is always so much prettier than mine. But he explained that I took on a much harder task than he did. In his solution, he basically picks a time in his own time zones, and then in his own time zone, I should say, and allows him to copy a URL from the site and send it on to the other people, and then they see the time he chose in their own browser in their own time zones. But, he added a few other bells and whistles, but that's the basic idea of what it does. Now, my solution allows the user to enter 2 time zones of their choosing and drag a slider to shift time to see how convenient it is for the other person, and then copy the time chosen. I was pretty pleased with my user interface, and Bart even borrowed one of my ideas to use a utility called Bootstrap Collapse to show and hide certain page elements. To be doing something that Bart wants to emulate? That warmed my little heart. A fun fact about our solutions is that Bart worked on his for an entire 3 days. I worked on mine for 2 months on and off. But you know what? I'm still proud of what I was able to accomplish, even though it took me a very, very long time. You can listen to this fantastic episode of Programming by Stealth in your podcatcher of choice by searching for Programming by Stealth, and you can read Bart and my tutorial show notes for this episode by going to pbs.bartificer.net. Thank you, Bart, for this amazing accomplishment doing... Okay, can't stumble that much on that. Let's see, minus. No, you're going the wrong way. There we go. I saved accidentally, and see, yep, there we go. Thank you, Bart, for this amazing accomplishment of 100 episodes of a podcast learning to program in audio. All right. Accept any city and compute the nearest time zone. Wait, I don't even understand what that would be. You mean like I type in on Ontario and it says, okay, the next closest city is Detroit? That's crazy. This week's episode was positive by Bart and I celebrate.
Isn't the nearest time zone always just 1 hour away? I guess there are some half-hour time zones, but I'm not sure what.
Hey, JF's in here.
Oh, JF, hey there.
JF is here. Hey, JF. Actually, I haven't. An artificer in Europe is like an artisan, and so he made a play on words and made it Bartificer. So, yeah. So everybody, meet JF. This is the guy I keep talking about who is my editor at Screencast Online. He's probably checking to see if I'm working on my video or whether I'm screwing around with my own show right now. But anyway, welcome to the show, JF. That's very exciting of you to come be here.
Yes.
Let me see something.
Hello,
here.
JF. Good to see
you. Yeah, I saw a whole bunch of typos when I was reading, and now they're all invisible to me. Yeah, that's always the way. All right. Let me do a chapter mark here, even though Kevin's not here to tell me about it. Command-Shift-M. Come on. What's going on? Oh, don't have the right. Show up. Okay, so this is...
We're missing some of your lighting in the background. It's
up. Oh, would you use the Wise?
No.
It's my side lights that are on.
No. It's your camera's tilted down.
Yes, but my side lights are off too. Would you mind turning them on for me in the Wise app? My motion sensor thing is all screwed up. It's not working right now. PBS 100. PBS 100. Paste. There we go. All right. Somebody's got to make sure I stand up. I've been working so hard on the show today that I've been up for 10 hours and I've only stood up for 6 of them. And I exercised for over an hour and then went on a 1.5 mile walk with Steve and Tessa to get the watch badge. So, you finished your stand hours? Yeah, I can't. Standing's the hardest one. Nobody's buying it, huh? That's the easiest for you? I've been writing all day.
Right.
All right, I'm going to do a rant here.
Uh-oh.
Well, let me, I don't want people making fun of me. I've got 615 calories, exercised 87 minutes, but I've only stood up 7 times.
Let's
see. Here we go.
I've got 10 stand hours.
How many calories? Probably as many as or more.
682.
What did I say I have? Oh, man, he's ahead of me by a few. I'm at 615. Okay, shut up. I'm going to mute you. Yeah. All right, here we go. Well, I've been stewing in my own juices over the past few weeks as every single tech podcaster on the entire planet has been hollering into their microphones about how Apple is a horrible, greedy, awful company that mistreats their developers and tortures their users. I know everyone isn't singing the same song, but it's really starting to feel like it. I'm not necessarily taking a position on any of this, but what aggravates me the most is that no one seems to be offering solutions other than Apple should allow third-party app stores, or Apple shouldn't charge anything to be in the App Store, neither of which are viable solutions to anything without a lot of further development of those ideas, right? There's a lot of problems with both of those quote-unquote solutions. So when last week I heard Rod Simmons repeating on the SMR podcast the same kind of drivel, I asked these guys to let me on the show to tell Rod exactly how wrong I thought he was. Seriously, what kind of podcast lets you do that? I think the trick here is that in 2 of the 3 hosts are always willing to gang up on the third one just for the comedy. So Chris Ashley and Rob Dunwood were more than happy to let me come on the show because they knew I was going to be making fun of Rod. Anyway, we had a complete blast as always, and I seem to remember partway through Rod and I actually came up with a workable solution to the App Store problems for Apple. Can't remember what they are right now, but you got to go listen to the show. It was a lot of fun. In any case, you will hear a rant you haven't heard me say on the NosillaCast, so go subscribe to the SMR podcast in your podcatcher of choice, or go to smrpodcast.com and look for the show entitled Come Tell Us with Allison Sheridan. It's a lot of fun. There we go. All right, now we're going to talk about the interface. This will be fun having JF here because he gets about 48 shout-outs in this one, I think.
Apropos.
Yeah. 2 a.m., Jill. Bart wrote,
that was Rick.
Sent me a message. No, Jill said I would go to bed at 2 a.m. given a choice.
Okay. I think Rick's the one that was saying he was awake at 2.
Oh, okay. I'm built for California time. So is Bart. Bart wrote to me at the equivalent of 4:30 a.m. his time.
Like
he was working on his solution.
So he was waking up early or going to bed late?
Going to bed late. He had not yet gone to bed. It was 4:30 in the morning. All right, here we go. Muting Steve. In theory, As a tech podcaster, one of my jobs is to constantly buy new gear and then back into the reasons why I needed to upgrade my equipment. It's pretty much in the handbook when you get started in tech podcasting. Now, on very rare occasions, there is an actual problem to be solved, which results in the outlay of funding. I'm happy to tell you that I can justify the $500 I just spent from the money provided by all of the fine Patreon members of the Podfeet podcast. Before we launch into the problem and solution, I want to provide a smidge of background about microphones. I'm sure you're familiar with the concept of USB microphones. They either come with a built-in USB cable, or you can connect one between the mic and the PC or Mac, and the system automatically recognizes it, and you're ready to use it as a mic input. But big girl mics are not USB mics. They have what's called an XLR connector. A traditional XLR connector is round with 3 large pins. In order to connect an XLR microphone to your computer so the signals are recognized, you need some sort of interface between the mic and computer. You can use a mixer to provide this functionality, but there's a lot of complexity that comes along for the ride. We had Anthony Lemos on Chit Chat Across the Pond number 633 to explain mixers to us, so if you're interested in learning more, go check that out. I tell you, I used to have a mixer, and I didn't like it one bit. It was big, and it was complicated, and I pretty much hated it. I prefer to use a simple interface with a built-in preamp that gives me an XLR connector into which I plug my mic, and then a cable that plugs into my Mac. For years, I've been using a Shure Mvi USB interface. They're pretty inexpensive at like $129 at Sweetwater right now. I like the simplicity of this interface. It has just a few buttons on the front that allow you to choose a digital signal processing setting, a DSP setting, which I keep set to voice, and then a volume input control and a headphone jack on the front. It's really kind of a set it and forget it device. Now, I monitor my own voice from my mic as I'm recording because that's the only true way to know if you've got noise or hum or any other problems coming into your recordings. It's annoying as heck to monitor your own voice, though, because there's latency between when the sound leaves your lips until it goes through the interface and back into your ears from your headphones. With a lot of latency, you tend to start slowing down your speech. Luckily, I've gotten used to it, but it is still annoying. So what's the problem to be solved? I actually mentioned the problem to be solved when I did the review of the Shure digital recording kit that I bought a while ago. You see, I've been hearing clicking on the line when I'm recording if I've got a heavy load on my system. There's 2 circumstances where I can hear this clicking. The first is when I'm recording the live show. I've got lots of video I'm broadcasting to Steve. I'm recording the podcast, and I've got a fair amount of graphics going on between camera video and my recording app being sent in video to the live stream. I've repeatedly asked the live audience if they can hear these clicks, and they say they can't, and neither can Steve, but I know that those clicks are there because I can hear them. The second situation where I have this happen is when I'm recording video tutorials for Screencasts Online. My lovely editor, JF Brissett, has a keen ear, and he's really helped me up my audio game to get my sound as pristine as possible. A single click sound might get past him in a recording, but when I'm recording the raw footage for Screencasts Online, I'll get as many as 20 or 30 or 40 in a 40-minute show. Every single one of those little clicks means I have to do a voiceover of what I was saying when the click occurred and replace the audio that goes with the video. I can't just replace a single word or it's going to sound really different and overdubbed and out of place. I have to replace entire sentences or phrases. It's very tiresome and it really adds to the workload, and it's just complete and utter waste. Now, I thought my trusty Shure Mvi might be failing, but when I tested the new one in the Shure recording kit, the clicking did not go away. That's why I sold the kit to Rod Simmons of the SMR podcast. And by the way, his audience is very happy I did that because he was using AirPods as microphones before that, and it sounded horrible. Anyway, his audience is happy, and I went back to using my original Shure Mvi, but I still had the clicking sound. I asked my favorite audio guru, Dave Hamilton of the Mac Geek Gab, for help finding a solution to this clicking problem. He's a great resource because he's not just a podcaster, he's also a musician, so he's all over this audio stuff. He suggested that the problem was very likely buffering because USB isn't fast enough, and when it catches up, it makes a little click. The solution he suggested was a faster interface. In other words, one that uses Thunderbolt instead of USB. It was time to go shopping. Before searching for a device, I had a set of requirements. Number 1, I didn't want to have to sell a kidney to buy it. Number 2, I also didn't want to have something complicated. I said I'd had a mixer before, and I definitely didn't want to go down that road. Number 3, it positively had to have a mute button on it so I could mute my mic when recording with other people. Number 4, I only need one XLR input since it's just little old me in here, but I was willing to move up to one that had, say, 2 XLR mic inputs for the rare occasions when I do record with someone else in the same room as me. Dr. Gary really likes to record in person side by side with me, which is really weird because I'm used to doing interviews with people across the globe, but being in the same room is really weird. So it would be a little bit easier, and I think the sound might be better if I could have her on an XLR mic into an interface. So having 2 would be okay, but not a requirement. 1 was fine. Number 5, I wanted something that would take up a very small footprint on my desk. I didn't want a big old mixer, like I said. Those things are giant. They're like, bigger than my laptop. I know they make smaller ones, but anyway, I didn't want anything big. Now, number 6, I also figured if I'm going to move to Thunderbolt, why would I buy old and busted Thunderbolt 2 when I have new hotness Thunderbolt 3 on my computer? No way was I going backwards to Thunderbolt 2. I looked at a lot of options, and it seemed that I was going to have to trade off either selling that extra kidney to get Thunderbolt 3, or I could get Thunderbolt 2, but I couldn't have both. The lost kidney models were also massive, complex pieces of hardware. The smallest ones had maybe 4 XLR inputs, so even those were physically large. I chatted with JF about my hunt, and he explained that he and Don McAllister use a Thunderbolt 3 interface recently rebranded to be called the Universal Audio Apollo Solo Thunderbolt 3 interface. I decided to look at how well the Apollo Solo might meet my requirements. While starting with price at $500, the Apollo Solo isn't quite kidney-selling territory, but it was kind of at the outer limit of what I really wanted to spend. $1,000 would have been out of the market, $700 would leave a mark, but at least $500 was way, way less than most of the Thunderbolt devices I found out there. In terms of complexity, the Apollo Solo looked fairly simple compared to a lot of the other devices, but there were a lot of words in the tech specs that I didn't understand, and it had a few buttons on the hardware that completely mystified me. I mean, one of the buttons is a diagonal line that connects to a horizontal line. One of them is the Greek phi symbol. Seriously, what is that anyway? But you know what? It did have pretty lights and a nice giant dial on it with lights that go in a circle around it, so it was pretty low on the complicated scale. Looked like I might be able to figure it out. The Apollo Solo does have 2 XLR inputs, so it meets that low complexity requirement as well. Now, the giant dial on the front controls the volume, and if you press it in, it mutes. Yay! It met that requirement. Then I kept reading, and I discovered it doesn't mute the mic input. It mutes the output to the speakers or your headphones. I was so bummed. I gave up on the Apollo Solo right then and there because I use the mute on my Shure Mvi all the time when I'm recording with someone else. Just today I was recording with Bart and I had to keep clearing my throat and I didn't want to do it into the mic, so I would just mute my mic. Anyway, I started my search again and guess what? None of the Thunderbolt interfaces I could find had input mute buttons. I bothered JF again and he suggested a physical mute block that you put in between the mic and the interface. When I started looking at these devices, they were expensive. They were like $100 just to mute, and they were what my father used to describe as ugly as sin. On top of being ugly and expensive, they came in 2 varieties. Some don't technically mute your audio, but rather attenuate the signal so it can be barely heard. The second variety completely muted, but they made a clicking sound when they muted. Since my main objective is to get rid of clicks, adding them back in, even if predictably so, didn't sound like a good solution. I asked Dave Hamilton if he had a suggestion, and he said he didn't use one because his giant, complicated mixer did have a mute button. He said he knew that Leo Laporte used one and suggested I ask him. I asked Leo, and he looked it up for me. He has the Proco Shortstop from ProcoSound.com, and this one could be used as a foot pedal as well. I checked it out, but guess what? The review said they could hear clicking on it, so that one was out too. At this point, I put a pause on the entire idea of replacing my interface. But then, Rogue Amoeba came out with their new version of SoundSource. In my exploration of the new release, I discovered that they added the ability to put up a menu bar icon of your microphone, and when you tap that menu bar icon, it would mute your microphone. Now, I knew I could do it with other software solutions. I mean, I'm running Rogue Amoeba's Audio Hijack right now, and I could mute from there, but I would never know quickly where is that button. Having it in the menu bar, I know exactly where it is, and I could immediately mute my microphone. So having that predictable place on my screen that didn't take up any real estate because it's just sitting up in the menu bar, having that in my recording, I could have my precious mute switch and eat it too. No, that's not the way it goes. I could have my precious mute switch and get the interface that I really wanted. You've probably figured out by now that I did buy the Apollo Solo, so it's not a spoiler for me to talk about the size of the device. In the pictures, it looked quite diminutive, but it is still way smaller than other devices, but I was kind of surprised by how big it was. The Shure Mvi is 2 by 2 inches, while the Apollo Solo is 7 inches wide and 5 inches deep. That's nearly 9 times as big. I'm still fussing around with where to put it on my desk, but I'm sure I'll find a good place for it eventually. The Thunderbolt 3 cable that came with it is pretty short, so my options on desk location are a bit limited by that as well. I might just have to use a longer Thunderbolt 3 cable, and that means I got to find one or buy one, and they're expensive when they get longer. Well, it's probably time that I finally tell you what I think of the Apollo Solo Thunderbolt 3 audio interface. I love it. But let's get to why I love it after I tell you about the things that make me a little crazy. When I first got it, I was positively baffled with how to use it, even to start recording. I was whining to JF about it, and he suggested a video call where he walked me through the device at the very simplest level, just enough to get me started. Luckily for me, JF has the same interface, as I said. He's a musician, so he understands devices like this, and most importantly, he's a great teacher. So here's what I learned. The big round dial on the right with the pretty yellowish green lights that go around it is the volume dial, but it serves several masters. There's a monitor button below it that when pushed toggles the volume between two options, headphones and monitor. Wait a minute, it's a monitor button that sets it to monitor. What the heck is monitor? Well, on the back of the device, where the two XLR connectors are located, there are also 2 jacks to connect external speakers. The idea, I guess, is people listen to the music they're mixing on big girl speakers or on headphones, and that's what they mean by monitor. I only need to make sure the button has me set to headphone, not monitor, because I use headphones when I'm working. But that's not the only thing that pretty volume dial controls. Also under the volume dial, there's a button that says preamp. When that button is pressed, the volume now controls the input gain of the attached microphones. In a million years, I never would have figured that one out on my own. Now remember, there's 2 XLR jacks on the back. Hitting the preamp button toggles which mic input you're controlling. This means if I'm recording someone else in the same room, I can change our input gain independently. So that's pretty cool. Now, I don't want to go through the rest of the buttons on the front because while JF did explain what they did, we determined that I don't have to worry my pretty little head about them just yet. He is going to make me learn how to use them, and I'm looking forward to that, but I don't have to know now. So last week it was crazy hot and humid around here, and as I explained on the show, we don't have air conditioning because this close to the beach, it didn't used to get that hot. Times are changing though. In any case, I'm super sensitive to any extra heat when it's that hot, doing things like turning off monitors whenever possible. So when I touched the dial on the Apollo Solo after using it for a while, I was shocked to find that it gets super hot. I got out my laser temperature gauge, as one does, and it was 104 degrees Fahrenheit on the dial. The box itself had some areas in the high 90s, but I did find one spot on it that was 103 degrees Fahrenheit. I'm a little concerned about that, but I'm not sure it's unusual for the device. I'll probably shoot a note to my little friend Kenneth Lindsay at Sweetwater and ask him whether that's common. I was surprised to find the front headphone jack wasn't the 3.5 millimeter, like 1/8 inch size I'm used to, but instead it was the larger 1/4 inch for professional headphones. Luckily, I kept my giant bag of audio and cable connectors from back when I had the big girl mixer, so I had an adapter to go from 1/4 inch to 1/8 inch. Well, we should probably spend a brief moment at this tome of an article talking about whether or not the Apollo Solo solved my main problem. It 100% did fix the problem of the random clicks. I used the interface for the podcast last week, and I'm using it right now, and there are absolutely no clicks while broadcasting my audio and video to the live show. More importantly, I've been working on a tutorial for Screencast Online about the messaging app Telegram, and I have not once had to do a single voiceover to remove a click on the audio. I've had to do a lot of voiceovers because I messed up my words, but that's a whole nother problem that no amount of audio gear will ever fix. Now, there's one thing that's very hard for me to get used to with the Apollo Solo, and that's near zero latency. I can barely tell that I'm actually monitoring my audio, so it's that close to real time. It's kind of disconcerting after all these years, to be honest. I'm used to the latency. I looked up the latency on the Universal Audio website, and they say it's 1.1 milliseconds. That is bananas. Now, I would have said that I like the Apollo Solo if it only got rid of those annoying clicks and had low latency. But there's something else that takes it from like to love. When I'm recording for Screencasts Online, as I explained, I worked very hard to have my audio be pristine. I even hang a moving blanket over the window in my studio to deaden the room echo, which, by the way, I'm far too lazy to do for my own podcast. I only do it for Don. Well, for a long time, I've been annoyed that I could hear a very low-level hiss when I was recording. I was blown away when I started recording video and audio with ScreenFlow, and there was zero hiss. I mean, nothing. When I have a pause between words, it is simply flatlined. I have absolutely never heard my audio sound this good. I wonder if anyone listening to the NosillaCast has noticed any improvement in the audio as well. Not sure you guys are as picky as I am and JF is, but if you have noticed a change, I'd sure like to hear about it. As much as I love the Apollo Solo, the software that came along with it is crazy complicated and definitely overkill for my needs. Jeff is going to give me another private lesson all about the plugins that came with the hardware, so I'm going to withhold judgment on the software for now. I do have to say, I think their software delivery has a huge upsell feel to it. You see, my device came with about a dozen plugins, which I don't know how to use yet, but they install 191 more of them that I do not own, just so they can try to get me to buy them. And they install these plugins all over the place in your system library. They even create folders in the application support subdirectory of the library for applications you don't even own. I have directories full of plugins for apps like VST and Avid now. I've never owned those. I don't know why I have to have those folders. Well, other than filling up my drive with stuff I don't need and I don't want, there's another problem with this. When I opened Audio Hijack from Rogue Amoeba under Audio Unit Effects, I found these 191 plugins I do not own, all mixed in with the audio unit effects that come with macOS and the audio unit effects I do own from Universal Audio. I couldn't even tell which Universal Audio plugins I do own because they were all mixed together. To say I was annoyed would be an understatement. I spent hours hunting through my system looking for every directory where they hid them and deleting them. And then I plugged in my interface and it wouldn't function at all. I was forced to re-download the multi-gigabyte installer and put them all back. The good news is I wrote to the Universal Audio support, and my little friend Michael B. has been super helpful trying to help me solve this. He explained where to look to get rid of just the stuff that's messing up Audio Hijack. And by the way, it's in Library Audio Plugins Components. But he did point out that every time I do a software update, I'll have to move those unlicensed plugins again. Then he told me about an open source Ruby script called Hide and Seek UAD Plugins. While he was quick to point out that this script is not endorsed or supported by Universal Audio, he told me others have found it useful and thought maybe it could help me out. I ran the tool from the command line and it moved the plugins to folders entitled Unused, but I haven't yet figured out the process to put back the ones I do own. But at least for now, Audio Hijack is pristine again, and I've probably got more and more hours of entertainment ahead of me to learn how to get the script to do even more. The bottom line is if you're starting out podcasting, just get a good USB mic like the Audio-Technica ATR 2100 for $99 on Sweetwater and just get going recording some shows. But if you're going to get a big girl mic and want pristine audio with zero latency so you can monitor your own sound without your head exploding, then check out the Universal Audio Apollo Solo. You can't have mine because I love it too much. Whew. There we go. Done. Should I save? Oh, did Kevin get in here finally? Medium in Virginia's here. What is SQX? I don't know what that means. New mentions. Square root. Are you guys doing math? Oh, that's your shortcut, and we saw it out. Now we know. Oh, you like the story, Jeff? Good thing I didn't say anything obnoxious about you since you were going to be here. I didn't know that.
I went in and edited it a little bit, cleaned it up.
Did you? Okay, you took out all the time.
All the
so I was saying, God, that JF drives me crazy. No, it's been really fun learning from JF because he is such a good teacher. And every time I get a session with him, it's just, I feel like I'm leveling up. It's good stuff. All right, where are we? All right. Wow, that 23 minutes. That was a long article.
Yes, it was.
I could stop right here. We got 45 minutes of, but I want to tell this second story. Whoops. What'd I do? What the heck? Why did that? There we go.
Right. Jesse, where's this Telegram show?
Yeah, really. Yeah, about that. It's not done yet. Do I really have to get it done tomorrow? All right. Yeah, for Screencast Online, I'm doing one on Telegram. That has been surprisingly difficult to do because it's really hard to not show your... Ooh, Tuesday's fine? Really? Oh, sweet. Oh, that I might need it. I think I can get it all done by tomorrow, but I want to go through the whole thing and make sure my phone number is never showing. Not showing your phone number is hard in it, and not showing anything personal. I realized I could use my Google Home, or not Google Home, my Google Fi card as the phone number to register the second one with, and but I had to add. Yeah, there's witnesses. I can't take it back. I added a couple of friends, but I couldn't add everybody because I needed to make sure people didn't write things right while I was trying to record something. So I've got my friend Diane, Stephen Getz, and Steve. And actually, the biggest thing I've been doing is I've been talking to myself. So I'm talking to my real Telegram account from my fake Telegram account, and because I can control her, I know when she's going to do something.
Most of the time.
So I keep talking to Allison. It's probably. I hope that doesn't confuse people. All right. This is a fun story.
And you do both the desktop and the mobile versions.
Yeah, I started with the iPhone, and then after a while, I moved over to the Mac. All right.
Oh.
Pandemic isolation sets in with my split personality. All right. Let's see. Here we go. I'm going to mute Steve. Did I make you yawn, dear?
Yes. No yawning.
Allison and Sybil. Wow, that goes way back. Could have used me, Allison, afraid of what I would say. Yeah, shockingly, I didn't pick you, Kevin. All right, here goes. When it came time to replace our aged Drobo 5N, I don't want to start out with... When it came time to replace our aged Drobo 5N, I chose to go with Synology because of the vibrant ecosystem of things you could install on their network-attached storage devices. I didn't have a specific problem to be solved other than needing a massive amount of disk that was rated in some way to protect against a single disk failure. I figured over time I'd find cool things to do with it. Well, this week I did something super awesome. I can't put this in the category of I have made fire, because the solution's been out there for ages, but it's still pretty cool and it's new to me, so I'm going to tell you about it. The problem to be solved is that a lot of IoT devices are not HomeKit compatible. While we've steered towards HomeKit compatibility gear whenever possible, we still have a lot of devices from Ring and Wise that are not compatible. The Ring and Wise apps both work really well, so it's not a huge hardship to have those open in separate apps to control the gear, but it would be swell to have them visible and controllable in HomeKit. Well, the internet is a wonderful place, and clever people have figured out how to achieve this goal. Homebridge is an open source project that helps connect non-HomeKit compatible devices to HomeKit. That framework is supported by open source developers who build the plugins for the specific devices. Now, the cool thing about Homebridge is that you can install it on wee tiny computers like a Raspberry Pi, or you can install it on grown-up computers. I helped my friend Pat Dengler set it up on her Raspberry Pi, and it was super fun. Super geeky fun. Lots and lots and lots of terminal fun. It's definitely doable, and it works great, but it's definitely not accessible to normal people. A company called Hoobs, that's Hoobs, decided to try and make it more accessible. They sell a nicely packaged Raspberry Pi with Hoobs pre-installed onto a micro SD card and then a very pretty web interface to add the plugins for the various devices you own. The Hoobs, what do they call it? Hoobs in a box is $170. If you already have a Raspberry Pi, which you can get for well under $50, like $25 in a lot of cases, you can buy an 8GB micro SD card with Hoobs pre-installed for only $20. But since this is open source world we're talking about, they also have a free download of the Hoobs software with a donation button suggesting $7. So it seems to me that if I could get Hoobs onto a computer, I could maybe install plugins for my non-HomeKit devices and get them onto HomeKit. I do have a Raspberry Pi, thanks to Ed, but I also have this shiny new Synology disk station. One of the ways you can install software on a Synology is to use what's called a Docker container. Simply put, Docker containers package up code and all of the dependencies to make that code run. This means not just the code, but the runtime environment, the system tools, system libraries, and settings. If you can get a Docker container for what you want to do, you don't have to worry your pretty little head about all the rest. From the development side, a Docker container is extra cool because they isolate the software from the environment where you're running it, so the application runs exactly the same regardless of the operating system on which you run it. In the Synology web interface, they have a thing called Package Center, and with a single-click installer for Docker. Once you get Docker installed, the next step is to find the Docker container you want to run. As of right now, there are 6,145 Docker containers in the registry tab of the Docker app on my Synology. I think they call this the tyranny of choice. Luckily, in this exercise, we know that we want to run Hoobs, so we can do a search. Well, a quick search reveals 6 different Docker containers listed with a developer's handle followed by /Hoobs. So there's 6 different ones by 6 different developers. I have to admit at this point that I didn't figure out pretty much any of the rest of what I did on my own. Dave Hamilton put a link, talked about in a recent episode of the Mac Geek Gab about a really good video tutorial by someone called Tech with Eddie. And I watched that video and it really helped me get going. I should warn you that my definition of a really good video tutorial is one that is thorough, doesn't spend 20 minutes up front yakking about what they're gonna tell you, they don't use any music, and they go really, really, really fast. Tech with Eddie goes through the menus really, really quickly, but you can always go back and rewatch what he did. You can stop and pause and go back and forward. If it's a slow plotting tutorial, those are really hard for me to sit through, so I like Eddie's style. Now, I'm not going to walk you through all of the steps to follow, but rather I'm trying to give you the bigger picture of the pieces. So we've got hardware to run everything, in my case, a Synology. Then we've installed a Docker container into the operating system. Now we're going to install Hoobs into the Docker container. Installation does require flipping some switches in the OS, like turning on SSH to be able to secure shell, into the Synology. You know, like you might do with your Macs to work on them from another room within your network. There's a few terminal commands as well, but they're not terribly daunting. Nothing like what Pat and I had to do. Once Hoobs is installed, you actually completely leave the Synology disk station web interface. In the browser, you go to the IP address of your hardware, Synology or Raspberry Pi, but you append it with you append it with the port you specified in the Hoobs and SSH setup. I have to confess that 2 days after setting up Hoobs, I went to my Synology to look at the Hoobs setup, and for the life of me, I couldn't figure out how to get back to Hoobs. I forgot that you don't do it from within the Synology interface. Luckily, I'd stored my password to the Hoobs interface in 1Password, so I found the URL in there. Sometimes my memory just slays me. Okay, can we take that picture of Kevin down? 5 times while I'm reading, I'm looking down and I'm seeing Kevin sitting there. Yes, she sells seashells by the seashore. That's exactly what I was thinking. That is, could a bunch of people type? Actually, I can type. Make his photo scroll up. There. Now I can't see him glaring at me. I can't work under this kind of pressure. I know what he's going to do. He's going to post it again. All right, here we go. Take a little sippy poo. Might have to hide the window if he does, though. All right. You wanted the circus here. Oh, who's Boutros 55, Steve? Oh, the puppy.
Boutros is new, I believe. I believe Boutros just joined us tonight. So welcome, Boutros. Glad to have you here.
Do you have a real name you want to be called by? If you're happy with Boutros, that's cool too.
Whoop.
Very cool. Actually, JF, have you ever been in the live show before? I think you have.
Oh, what a cute puppy.
It is a cute puppy. It's better than looking
Peter
at Kevin.
from Brisbane.
All right.
Well, welcome, Peter.
Peter from Brisbane. How exciting.
Nice. Do we know Peter from Brisbane?
I don't know, but we didn't actually meet anybody in Brisbane, but we have been to Brisbane when we went to Australia. Listening only, not YouTube. Okay. How do you know you saw a cute puppy? You must be because you're in Discord. All right. I got to keep going. Muting Steve. All right. The Hoobs interface is pretty and clean, and a simple click of a plugin icon in the sidebar allows you to search for the plugin to install for your IoT devices. With a blank screen in front of you, it's not entirely obvious what is available to you. Luckily, I knew that Ring was pretty much the top thing most people wanted to add to HomeKit. The plugins you'll find when you do a search come from the open source community, so like with the installation of Hoobs, you might find several plugins for the same devices from different developers. Some of the open source packages have been certified by the folks at Hoobs, so probably not a bad idea to try those first. Luckily, Hoobs had a certified plugin for Ring, so I didn't have a hard decision to make on which one to install. Like I did with the Hoobs installation itself, I'm not going to walk through the installation and configuration of plugins because it's actually different for every device you have. The fantastic news was that after I got the plugin for Ring installed, all of my Ring devices showed up in HomeKit. It was truly awesome. I could see our 3 Ring cameras, I could see all of the security sensors on all of the windows and doors, and I could even set the alarm system from Ring all within the Home app. I think one of the values that the Home app brings is that you can organize your devices by room. Now with all the Ring devices joining in that context, I can go, say, to our entrance room and see the carriage lights out front, the status of the August lock, and a Ring video doorbell. In the yard room, I can see our Ring floodlight and Ring spotlight cams, along with our HomeKit-enabled Ratio sprinkler system. We used to use a 1990s home security system that was built into our house, and the one advantage it had over the Ring was that it had little lights on the keypad that would show you which zone had a window or door left open. With the Ring system, you don't really have an interface for that. When you try to alarm your house, the Ring will say, "All right, a door or window is open, but I'm going to leave it up to you to run furiously around your house trying to figure out which one." But with Ring and HomeKit now, I can look at my entire house all on one page, and brightly lit up are 2 boxes right now showing my kitchen window and family room sliding door are both open. It's way better than any solution I've seen before. We did have a funny moment when we saw our Ring alarm in HomeKit with 2 controls. One was a slider with off, away, and home, which are the 3 settings for the alarm. The other was simply a toggle switch with a power icon on it. Curious what that was, we tapped it. Guess what that power icon does? It sets off the alarm. That was a fun little trick for our neighbor at 30 a.m. on a Sunday morning. I'm sure they appreciated it. Now, I have to confess that this entire exercise was just to see if I could figure out how to do it. I do a lot of tech stuff for that reason. But then Steve pointed out to me that ever since I put Ring into HomeKit, the Ring cameras are much more responsive. We've always been a little bit disappointed at how long it takes to get live video from our doorbell, and we even upgraded our Ring doorbell hoping to improve it. If anything, the upgraded one, the response seemed to be even worse. But with it in HomeKit, it's maybe 2 seconds from when we tap the camera until we're watching live video. I call that a huge success. We haven't even started doing any kind of scenes and stuff, but now we have a lot more fun we could have. I was really hoping to install a Hoobs plugin to get my Wyze cameras, lights, and switches into HomeKit. Wyze devices have multiplied like rabbits around here, so having them in HomeKit where I could control them with Siri and scenes like "It's showtime" would be awesome. Unfortunately, it looks like it's not meant to be, at least for me. The plugin that will add Wyze devices to Homebridge or Hoobs is called Camera FFmpeg. But in order for Camera FFmpeg to control the cameras, you have to flash the firmware on the Wyze cam with their RSTP implementation. To quote Wyze on doing this, RTSP is not a stock feature with the Wyze cam and is a beta feature that requires the installation of different firmware. Using the RTSP firmware will prevent the camera from supporting any future functions or features in the Wise app. In other words, they will no longer be Wise cams, just pieces of hardware you bought from Wise. Sadly, that would be a no for me. Anyway, I was poking around on the Hoobs website, and they had the logos of some of the bigger companies Hoobs can connect to, and one of them was Tesla. Turns out, if you put your Tesla in HomeKit, you can remotely, through HomeKit, unlock doors, open the trunk, open the charge port, start charging, and even enable keyless driving. I asked Steve if he wanted me to set it up for him, and I think his exact words were, "Do your car first. I will be right behind you." Well, another cool use for Hoobs or / Homebridge is if you're... Sorry, I am stuttering because Steve appears to have left the building. Can you guys hear me anymore?
I'm here and I hear you. Why do you think I've left
weird.
the building?
Okay. Oh, well, one thing was you were quiet, but I guess that I should have figured.
I was muted.
Mimo Live Remote disappeared.
Oh.
Do you still have access to it on your phone? Okay,
Yep.
They do all here.
Yeah, it's still working. I'm controlling right now with it.
Okay.
Just
I
do a
lost
refresh,
mine.
maybe,
Mine says there's
quit
no.
it and start it
No,
again.
there's no host found.
Really?
Can't. Yeah. Let me try it again. Ah, there it is. Came back. Yeah, it disappeared. It was disconcerting. And I found 2 bad typos that I need to fix. I'm going to fix those right now. Where was I? Down here. My quote is all off. Where'd my quote go? Hey, sorry about the interruption here. Where'd it go?
Is it the one that begins with RTSP?
Ring. Yeah, but I wrote RSTSP.
RESPECT.
Yeah, I got to do something even more annoying. I've got to refresh it first because I think I did a couple of edits on the web. Don't blame me for those typos. I didn't know about this post. Yeah. Oh, I think I found the one that you missed. Oh, I just remembered. It was the underscores around lot were showing.
Ooh, don't let your lot underscores show.
That's the one. It's confusing, but she saw one and then she couldn't find it again. And she asked me if I found it. And I did not. But I found it when I was reading it. Let's see.
You're
Where's
just
my
like
quote?
getting in front of that Hindenburg window.
Oh, sorry.
I'm
Forget
joking.
that I can't cover it up. Oh, geez, that's the wrong thing, did it? Let's see. Where's Wise? Wise plugins for devices, benefits of Ring. IoT, where's my quote? There we go. I need to... Oh, wait a minute. Where's my preview? Sorry, I'm going to have to cover up the screen for a second here. With that, what shows when I do that?
Basically, what you're looking at.
Oh, well, that's kind of cool. So I'm really just showing a part of the screen. I'm not technically showing...
Yeah. But if you move Hindenburg around, I think it follows that frame. It's just that if you put something over Hindenburg, it'll show that.
Oh, really?
I think.
Okay, I got those 2 typos fixed. Good. Let me see. I'm going to move it. Actually, show me. Well, maybe I can do it now that I'm back in. I'm going to do... Oh, it is showing. Okay, so if I move that a whole bunch over here.
Oh.
Nope.
No, so it's an absolute position on the screen. A little more right. Touch right.
Really?
Yep.
Okay.
Touch more.
Moom actually knows where it's supposed to be.
2 pixels more.
Okay, stop it. 2 pixels more?
Yes,
No,
2 more.
now you're just being Kevin.
No, I see a
No!
little strip.
Oh my gosh, you kill me. Where do you see the strip? To the right
On
of
the
it?
right, a little blue strip. There you go. Thank you.
Hang on.
Now I see a blue strip on the left.
I'm going to spank you. Come in here. 1.5 pixels.
Yes,
exactly.
thank you.
Okay,
Kevin
where
says
was
1.5 pixels.
I asked Steve if he... I asked Steve... Oh, did you hear how were you listening when I said the Tesla thing?
Yes, and I'm not putting that on Hoobs.
Come on, you're no fun. Let me see what he said.
Last thing I want is my
I was
car
almost at the end.
being controlled from my
Oh no, I have to stand up, you guys. Seriously, I have to record standing up now because I got 6 minutes to meet the. Okay, I got to stand up because I'm not gonna lose. I'm not gonna lose my goal. Okay, here we go. There we go. How's that? All right, where was I? I got to get this high enough. I have to. That's the top of my head. Don't worry about it. It's fine, dear. I asked Steve if he wanted me to set it up for him, and I think his exact words were, "Do your car first. I will be right behind you." There you go. I don't think we're going to do that. We will eventually.
No, leave that in.
That, right? No, I was cutting out something else.
Oh.
Don't. I'm the editor. Bye. Another cool use for Hoobs or Homebridge is if you've got devices that you bought from a company before they added HomeKit capability. For example, we have a bunch of current Belkin switches, but our older Wemo switches from Belkin are not HomeKit compatible. I think maybe I'll work on those next before allowing self-driving via Siri to my car with HomeKit. To review the process one more time from the top level, you install plugins for your devices into Hoobs, which is Homebridge under the hood, which in turn is installed in a Docker container that is installed on the Synology. Easy peasy, right? Well, to be honest, the whole process only took me around 90 minutes, and that included watching the video to learn how to do it. I'm delighted that I found a valuable thing to do with my Synology other than just using it as a giant pile of disks, and I'm even more delighted that Steve likes the performance of our Ring devices now that they're in HomeKit. Okay, there we go. All right, did I get the credit yet?
You're getting there.
I saw another couple typos. If you let me fix those typos before Sandy gets mad at me. If you've got devices you bought from a company before they had HomeKit. For example, we have a bunch of current Belkin switches. There it is. Okay. All right, sending that one to the blog. Okay. Hopefully the site didn't inject anything. Oh, you never get credit because you don't swing your arms. You know, one of the things that people complain about is if you push a baby stroller, you don't get any credit.
Yeah, they need baby stroller mode.
Yeah, they do. They need it. All right, time for an ad. As you learned in the first segment, this fine-sounding audio with no clicks and no hiss is coming to you thanks to the generosity of the patrons of the Podfeed podcast. If you'd like to help make the show sound better and better year over year, or you'd just like to contribute because you learn so much from these shows, I hope you'll consider going over to podfeed.com/Patreon and choosing a dollar amount that's right for you and your family. If you can't afford to do so, do not spend one single second thinking about it. But if you can't afford it, even $1 a week adds up when enough people do it. I won't stop you from picking a higher amount, though. All right. Or the shopping cart at Costco. Good point.
We all
Should
want
shopping count as exercise?
Sure. You're walking. You're pulling things off the shelf. You're putting things back. Well, mostly pulling
Yeah,
out.
but you're supposed to be getting like 100 calories, or your heart rate above 100.
Well, if you're a fast shopper, vigorous shopper.
Yeah, you're not walking that fast there. This isn't about getting wise on HomeKit, but it is about getting wise to save your Synology. I haven't done it yet. Wise to save my Synology? Oh, you mean so if the wise cam picks up a thief or something? Do you have to you still have to flash the firmware though, right?
Yeah, that's a no-go if we have to do that.
Yeah, because you can buy the cameras that the Wise uses. They're a commodity camera, and so you can order those or just go get those and never. Sorry, I'm looking for something. I'm not finishing my sentences. Yeah, it's the Wise software that makes some Wise cams,
and it's really good. I mean, that's most of the reason why that and the price point.
Yeah. I got to tell you though, they there's one thing that disappoints me about them, and that is, well, they could make this HomeKit compatible, but the other thing is they don't. Sorry, doing two things at once. There it goes. it's only portrait mode on an iPad, which is really, really stupid. So I don't like that.
But on the iPhone, they do rotate, right?
Well, they rotate when you play the video. I can sit down now because I either got it or I didn't. When you play the video, it does, but the interface is not separate. It's portrait mode.
You're really
the
short
main interface.
There
Shut up. All right, let's see how I did on this transition here. A higher amount though. That was a weird ending about it. But if you can't afford it, even $1 a week adds up when enough people do it. I'm going to cut that there. I don't think I like that extra sentence. All right. Can't afford it, even $1 a week adds up when enough people do it. Well, it's that time of the week again. It's time for a little late. Yeah, John, I agree. It's only 110 degrees, I think. The angle of view of the outdoor cam. And I think they're all like that, aren't they? But it feels constricted, like it should have been a little wider than that. Well, it's that time of the week. Too soon. Well, it's that time of the week again. It's time for Security Bits with Bart Busschots. How are you today, Bart? So, it's the detection zone. Hey, so did you guys see the picture of the cake? You heard me talking about that at the beginning. Let there be cake.
But what we didn't see,
just in case anybody missed it,
what we didn't see is the picture of your cake.
Well, yes, technically, I'm in that picture.
Oh, well, come on. That's a little bit.
Yeah, and I wrote to Bart and asked him for it, but he didn't send it to me, so.
Oh, okay. Oh,
couldn't include it.
And you could only get, right.
He had to take it.
I see.
I don't get a choice on that, so. All right, it is time for us to wind things up. That's a nice long show, 1:22. Well, that is going to wind us up for this week. Don't forget to send in your dumb questions, comments, and suggestions by emailing me at allison@podfeet.com. And you can follow me on Twitter @podfeet. Remember, everything good starts with podfeet.com. You want to become a patron? You go to podfeet.com/patreon. You want to maybe do a one-time donation? podfeet.com/PayPal. Want to join our Facebook community? podfeet.com/Facebook. How about joining Slack where Bart is over, and we've got programming by stealth channels. We've got just so much fun over there. podfeet.com/Slack. And if you want to join in the fun of the live show like Peter from Brisbane did for the first time, head on over to podfeet.com/live on Sunday nights at 5 p.m. Pacific time and join the friendly and enthusiastic Nosilla castaways. Thanks for listening and stay subscribed. Boom.
Rick liked the show.
An email address.
Someone in the chat room actually liked the show.
I don't understand.
Most of the people don't listen to the show.
You don't think they like it?
I'm joking.
You're terrible.
There's just a little irony.
It's really fun, having extra brothers, having an extra brother around here. And stay subscribed.
Jill likes it too. Okay, that's 2. We got 2.
Yeah. I get my free one later today. Oh, yeah. Michael Westbay helped me solve a problem with my code. And right. I told him that whoever solved it got 5 free episodes of the NosillaCast.
Michael, score.
Yep. All right. So I have 4 whole, chapter marks. Hope that's enough.
That sounds
Is that the
a
right
little
number?
light.
Yep. There weren't a lot of chapters. You stand up. I'm going to call it a day.
So
Did I get the credit?
The chit chat?
8.
Chit chat, security bits, Apollo, and HomeKit ring.
That sounds right. I'm exporting right now, so I can't tell. Kevin!
Kevin.
You look good, Kevin. Let me see. Yeah, PBS, SMR podcast. Oh, no, I didn't do Security Bits one. Nuts. So you missed one, the SMR podcast one.
Oh.
I missed the security
Well,
bits
I didn't
one.
even see it in the blog post. Is it there?
I'm sorry.
Oh, there it is. Yes, it's
I'm
embedded.
sorry.
I got it.
Uh-oh.
I was...
It's
yeah.
also... Oh. I'm sorry you can't see where it is.
I see it now.
Okay.
It was hidden.
All right. Security bits. Security bits. And I'm going to do this. Copy link. There we go. That was a good one to catch. All right, good. Export again. All right, guys. I think we should probably call it a day. Very nice to meet you, Peter. Glad you could come. Hope you come again. Was Kevin nice? Did Kevin behave himself?
The perfect gentleman. As always. Except for the photos.
And being obnoxious, and was he spitting on anybody?
No. I think he even pulled a chair aside for somebody.
Oh, I accidentally opened this. Steve, show my screen. This is an example of some of the software that came with my Apollo Solo. I don't know what any of that is. Actually, you see that green input dial there? Without touching it, I can change it. Ooh, that's the big green dial on my interface.
Or lower right.
Yeah, watch. Ooh, see how my volume gets down and then it gets up real loud again? There
Impressive. A software button.
Everyone was nice. Yeah, more things to learn. Yeah. I don't know. I think there's my output over on the right. I don't know what all these buttons mean. But JF's going to teach me. It's going to be awesome. All right. Well, I think we have probably kept people after class long enough. I should let them go. It is 6:06. Thank you so much for coming. So glad everybody was here. Bye. Bye, Rose.
Good night, Gracie. And you better get working on that Telegram show.
Oh, a new TV episode.
Okay.
Why am I getting that?
We're signing off.